Okay, this is the front bolster that the front axle pivots on, where I've got it clamped down to the pallet here with these clamps. That's where it would bolt to the engine. And this back bush here, I've just slid that out, and I could actually see this piece here sitting out the back, looking at the harmonic balance of the front pulley on the engine. Now it's got a heap of holes around it and an oil groove around the back there. Or grease groove, or grease track I should say. Never been greased in its life probably. Now everything on this tractor so far, the kingpins, the tie rod ends, everything has come to a standard tractor. So I thought, well, that's fair enough, I'll order the standard bush. But when you order the standard bush, the S42216, it just drops in there like anything. So we know this tractor has had a bit of a hard life up here. On this housing here, you can see the bush is out of here. I've just taken that out, and you can see where it's been ground here to do some work in the past. I'm not sure what. Now, the front pivot, now it had this bush here in it, and if you can see around there, yeah, it's actually worn through any brass bush material into the steel backing, but wearing into the steel backing, it hasn't made this hole out of round at all. So when we look at the Fergie parts book for this bush number 30, and we run across, it's a 196049M1, and that's it. There's no other option for that. So that turns out to be a Sparex S57746. So this is the S57746 bush, and when we look at this, it actually has a grease hole in it, and when you look at the housing here, the grease hole is offset slightly, and it's but anyway, I'll work it out, and even if we've got to drill a new one because this has been ground back, I just don't know how that's going to affect things. The bush at the moment is perhaps 3 mil longer than the housing, so they must have ground, whenever they did this work here where they've ground all this off, they've probably buggered it up then. So whether I start at the front, I suppose the sensible thing would be to this front section. I think that's original. It doesn't look like it's ground or anything. So I'll emery tape in here, make sure it's nice and clean. I'll fit that bush, and I'll probably leave it sticking out the back here a little bit, and later on we'll just see how that affects it. Now on the front axle, when we pulled it off, you may remember it had a spacer built for here, so I don't know how that works yet. So I think that one's okay. So with this back hole though, you can see it's worn through the bush, so we need to actually work out, is the hole round, and if it's not round, is it close enough for us to have a bit of a farmer fix? So I've got my digital verniers here with a cracked screen. I don't even know how that happened. So when we try and run them around there, we've got 55.61 or 2.1895. So when we bring it here, .247. So 189 to 47. So we're about 30 thou out around. So we have to decide with this bush. My little milling machine, I'm bloody sure it won't get in here and round that out for us. It's just too small. It's a hobby machine, and it's just too small to do it. But with the right bush, there'd be nothing wrong with cleaning that up properly and putting a bit of DevCon or something like that just to support the bush and put it in. So What I'm going to do with that I don't actually know. I haven't got there yet, and I haven't got the right bush. Now, so when we find the parts book here and we look at this back bush, which is number 19, and we come across to number 19, there's a G and a H, 196050, which is a G, which is standard duty tractors, which is what I ordered, which I thought I had, or a H, 894152M2, H is heavy duty tractors. So when we go to the Sparex catalogue for that particular bush, we have to use number 14 up here, and it's on page 38 of the book. Number 14, so it says 65 front and rear bush is an S3408 or S42208 196050M2. So what they have given us with the first bush, front and rear 51 by 47, the OD is 52. So with our OD, when we do miles an hour or kilometres an hour, so our OD is 55. So I do have to work that back across yet. Now, when I look at that bush, when I you end up with all these bloody books everywhere. I usually have them on the bench, but I thought I'd just show you today. So with number 19, so the standard bush at number 19, 196050, so 196050, S42218. So I've got the standard bush because I thought I had a standard tractor. But when we go to H, 897712, that doesn't match up with this number either. So in the parts book, so, but it says 65, 165, 168, and this bottom one says 65. So I may need to make a bush to go into this hole, which that's no worries, I've got a lathe to do that. But what I'll have to look at now is the the front axle, and just see what my pin size is. Now I'm pretty sure this front pin will be okay, but this back pin, I have to have a look and see if it's had any work on it. Is it out of round? I know it's out of round. I can just see it looking at it. And I may have to take all this into an engineering works that can bore this out to take a standard bush and can work with the pin. So yeah, that's what we're up to with it, with this section, but we have plenty of other work to go on to with the tractor, but with this here, you need to get these jobs organised and get them into people if you need to do that and things like that. So, so yeah, I might try and get the axle sitting on the back of the forklift there, behind this if I can, or maybe in front of it, that'll push down, and I'll measure the pins and we'll see what that tells us. Okay, I've gone and got the front axle. This is it here. Now this is the front. So when that sits in the tractor, this actually sits like that with the bush inside. And if you remember when we pulled it apart, there's some shims here, and you adjust it up with the shims, and this plate here bolts on to take any end movement out, which that's fine, that's a good thing. So we can work with that. That washer there is, I don't know whether, no, there's quite a step in that. So I can probably flatten that off again, that's no worries. And these shims, we don't know what we're going to need, we just don't know. But from where they've ground the back off on the front here, I presume they've made a spacer washer, and you can see where the spacer washer sits there. So I think they've taken something off here and they've made this washer to build it up. So with the bush that goes in this housing here, it goes on this front pin, and we can see that's quite sloppy there. So I'll just have a look at the pin. We'll go on. Okay, so 50.42 wide. $49.7, 50.5. Look, that's not too bad. Possibly when this bush presses in the housing there, some of that will disappear. Yeah, I'll have to fit it and see. I'm just not sure with that. Now, when we roll the axle over, so this would have been the worn patch. Actually, you can feel, I think, yeah, where that thick washer was sitting, you can actually feel a little lip there. So I don't have a workshop manual for this tractor, and I'm hunting for one, but I just haven't got one yet to get some of the specs. Now on you can just see that if I put this back over there and bring that back. Yeah, you can see the lip there and at the front here. So when we come here and we try and 49.27, so that was probably 2 inch, I would imagine, or 50, 48. If I come up right up here, and there's the problem, you can see it. Now what can you see? I'll try and hold it and zoom you in all at the same time. So you can see around the edge here, you can see welds. So at some stage in its life, you may be able to, I'll zoom in there better if I can. Yeah, that's a bit better, isn't it? You can see where at some stage in its life they've welded this pin up and obviously machined it back down again. So we have to deal with this somehow. I'll get you back out there again. So now that pin looks to be part of the casting here, but at the very least we have to get that round somehow. That's where it was sitting, that's where the bush was sitting there. So you can see the wear mark from there to there. So I need to get this round. Now in the Sparex book, it tells me that the ID is 47.6, and there's no way we're anywhere near 47.6, like we're 48.9. So I believe, I think what's happened is this is worn out sometime. They've bored this out, they've made a bigger bush, then they've welded the pin up here and they've set this up in the milling machine and they've brought this back down to size. So there you go. I don't know what I'm going to do here just yet. I'll get this book out of the way. Yes, I'm not 100% sure. Give us a comment on what you reckon. Where's Brian Block when I need him? Brian, just whiz over here, will you? Oh, well, I'd have to take it over to his machine, so I'd have to go. That'd be a good excuse for a holiday anyway, wouldn't it? So I could probably, my milling machine's only a little hobby type one. but I could set that up in it maybe, and work off my centre here and put a boring head around just to tidy that up. But if I can get that tidy to say 47 millimetres like the bush should be, and make a spacer to take a standard bush in here, even though there's a small gap there, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't get this in my little mill. If I could make a steel insert for this housing to fit the standard bush again, I think that would be a pretty good thing. But yeah, so for the moment, leave a comment, tell us what you'd do. Yeah, there's smarter people than me out there, that's for sure. But this is going to be a bit of a pain in the bum. We'll have to deal with it one way or another, and we will. And we've got to end up with a nice front axle with no slop and things like that. So, okay, so that's it. Yeah, so we've had a farmer fix or an engineer fix, but we just got to work with it. And I'm hoping really that, yeah, I could probably machine that back down and set this up, but we'll see. If I get it set up and go that way, I'll certainly have the camera there. All right, that's it for this bit. I'll let you know in a later video what we're up to.